Hi there, welcome to this Klusterbox tutorial. I'm Tom Weeks, the developer of Klusterbox. In this tutorial, I want to go over a bit more of what Informal C is, how it works, how to use it. It's going to be longer than the introductory video, so I'll leave some show notes down at the bottom so that you can navigate through the video and get to the part where you have questions. So let's get to it. Okay, the first things we want to do is we want to start up Klusterbox, and for that you would just go to your Start menu, and now I've got Windows 11 here, so it might be different on different operating systems. And so you don't have to set your investigation range, but if you do have multiple stations, it will ask you which station you want to use if you have more than one station. So we can just either press this button that says Informal C, or if the investigation range is set already, you don't have that button, so you can go up to Basic, the Basic menu, and then Informal C. And there, Klusterbox opens. And when you get to this screen, this will give you a list of 4 options: enter new grievance, the grievance tracker, payout entry, and payout report. Now, the payout entry and payout report aren't fully developed. That kind of deals with payroll information. So you're primarily going to be dealing with new grievance and grievance tracker right there. Okay, to start off, we're gonna enter in a new grievance. Okay, so we go up here to enter a new grievance, press that button. This sequence of how this flows is sort of similar to an 8190. I figured if you were reading off an 8190, the first thing that appears is the grievance. Okay, so you would fill that in, and then the dates, and then the issue is usually the last thing for, in fact, some Informal A's aren't allowed to fill out that form, but you can put in the issue of what it's about. So for a grievance, whenever this button list appears here, I recommend that you use it. Right? Hold on a second. Okay, so whenever this button list appears, use that, and when you're filling it in. So, okay, so we press list. Let's get rid of that arrow. And then a list of names appears, and at the top of that list is class action. So you could always enter in class action. And the way it works is the clear button just clears out the list, the highlights on the name. It doesn't clear out that field. But you can only enter in one name. So, okay, for this particular grievance, we want to enter in, where's he at? Crosby. Okay, add carrier. So I got a specific grievance in mind. It's a non-compliance grievance. So, and like I said, none of the names are real. I created a program which changed all the names in the database. So these are all fake names. So Crosby isn't a real person. But this is a real grievance. So the grievance number is whatever convention you use for grievance numbers at your station. And this is like mine, but there are no dashes or spaces. I don't think there are any capital letters. It's just all lowercase numbers and letters. Okay, so for the date, if it's an ongoing grievance, there's no ongoing button. If you enter in ongoing here, it's going to produce an error. So just use the date that you're filing. So this would be 12/20, and 3 digits for the year, which is standard in Klusterbox. And also the meeting date would be the same date. Okay, and the issue, again, there's a button. And I have to do something about the sequence of these things because it's hard to find. It's hard to find things. I think I started ordering it by article, and then I put the Article 8 stuff on the top. But here's non-compliance. So we're going to add that issue. You can only put one issue in. You can't highlight multiple things. Okay. Now, since this is a non-compliance grievance, this field down here, this field right here where it says non-compliance associations, that's going to come into play. Okay. Let's clear this out. Okay. So we can close this. Okay. Now, say we've got non-compliance grievance, right? So I'm going to use this information here from this report. And so I'm filing a non-compliance grievance on this grievance right there. Okay, and that's the grievance number is right there. And you can see that the carrier had denied sick leave. And there was a decision for an adjustment that was due in February, and there's no documentation for it. Okay, and I filed a non-compliance grievance already. You can see down here, I filed a non-compliance grievance in April, and it was favorable, but there's still no compliance. Okay, so this is the setup. All right. So in this case, this issue of this field for non-compliance associations, this comes into play. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the information here. We're going to highlight this, copy it, and this is so this is going to be a non-compliance grievance for two grievances: the original grievance and this non-compliance grievance, because both of them were not complied with. So we're going to press Add and then put in this other grievance number. Now you have to have a valid grievance number which is in the database. Otherwise, Klusterbox or Informal C is going to say, well, that's not a grievance. So it has to be a valid grievance number for you to use these fields. And, okay, once that's done, you can use this remanded associations, but, you know, it depends on whether it's really a remanded grievance or not. If it's not, then don't need it. And right now we don't have a settlement. There's no settlement, so we're not going to fill this in. And we're not going to fill out anything beneath that. So all we have to do is press apply. You can see down here that there's a grievance number. Okay. Let's go back. Okay. Now we can use the grievance tracker and locate that grievance. Okay. So the grievance usually, the newest grievances are always on the top, right there. That's the one we're looking for. You can change that sequence by going to, let's see, if you go back and just kind of toggling this down here, the sort order. If you do earliest to recent, then the latest grievances show up at the earliest grievances show up at the top. But we want the latest grievances to show up at the top. So that's the default. Okay, and then from there you can press report. Here's your report for that grievance. All right, you've got grievance number. We entered in the issue, the date, the dates of the violation, all that. And there's currently no settlement entered for this grievance. Okay, but it shows that this is a noncompliance grievance for these two grievances. Okay, and if you were to bring up any of these, this grievance, it would reference, it would say, okay, this grievance is the subject of a noncompliance grievance for this other grievance. So they would reference each other. And, okay, let's just move this off to the side and clear out this arrow. Okay, so say you want to edit that carrier, or edit that grievance. Okay, so say you finally get a settlement. There was a settlement from Step B. It was signed on March 1st, 2023. And the decision is favorable. And add that. And docs thing, because you deal with the proof due and the documents. That's for the original grievance. For non-compliance grievances, I just like to keep it favorable or unfavorable. And then you press apply. And then you get that message saying that grievance was added. And so we can go back. And now that grievance has a favorable settlement there, right? And you can look at the summary, and summary will show. Let's make it bigger. It has to be a certain size in order for it to be readable. There we go. The grievance is on the first line. Non-compliance grievance favorable. Okay. And it's pretty much how you add and edit a grievance. So if you go to report, you'll be able to see show up on the top. We'll report here that these, it's got a non-compliance grievance, for these two grievances. It's got a favorable decision, and if they don't change just don't change the original grievance to say that the adjustment was, don't put the original adjustment in there until you get it. And then once you get the proof of compliance for that original grievance, then you can close it out. So that's how you track compliance with Informal C. Okay. There's that. Okay, let's take a look at the search criteria. To search for a grievance, you go to the grievance tracker. Okay, now first option is just search all. This gives you a list of every single grievance you have for that station that you're in. So you can navigate, with these arrows here, or you can just go to the page number, whatever. This you have 12 pages. Okay. Now, if you don't fill out any of the search criteria, you can just press search at the bottom, and it's going to give you the same result. But if you do fill out the search criteria, if you start filling in things here, then you press search, then you can it's going to have a different result. Okay, so if you search by, the exception is the search by grievance number. Okay, if you search by the grievance number, it has its own search button. So say we want to find this grievance, we press search, that one grievance will pop up. And it's an actual grievance. Okay, we can go back. Okay, now let's say we want to search by a grievant. Okay, this will give us a list of, this generates a list of every carrier in the station. Okay, now say there were no carriers in the carrier list. Okay, let's do this. Let's go back, quit Informal C, and we can see we have one station in Klusterbox. But let's create a second station. Let's call it Cluster Hills instead of Cluster Park. Enter, now you can see we've got these two stations, Cluster Hill, Cluster Park. Let's go back. Okay, now we enter into Informal C, and it asks us to select a station. So Klusterbox is station specific, or Informal C is station specific, just like Klusterbox. So let's select Cluster Hills, submit, and grievance tracker. Now when we select search by grievant, there are no carriers listed because there are no carriers in the carrier list for Cluster Hills because it's a brand new station that we just made, and we haven't put any. There's no carrier list. Okay, so in order for you can when you're creating a new grievance, you can just enter in. Let's see. Let's go back. Say we want to enter in a new grievance, we can just put in the carrier name. We could just type it in. But that's not ideal. Ideally, you want to build your carrier list in Klusterbox so it can migrate over into Informal C. And that kind of goes for a lot of these other lists. The grievance, it's going to be blank. Close. The issue is going to be also blank because there are no grievances in there. When you select add issues, it's going to it's going to search the entire database for all the grievances in that station and give you a list of things that are in there. If it's not on this list, you haven't made a grievance for it. And let's see here, show list. The decisions actually do show up. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so let's exit. And then this time when we go into Informal C, we're going to go into Cluster Park. Okay, and now you can see that these grievances all show up because these are carriers in the carrier list of Klusterbox. And these are all issues of grievances that we've put into Informal C. Okay. All right. So you can enter in, multiple grievance. You just enter in, you're looking for these people, search, and it'll give you a list of grievances, for all these people. That's odd. There we go. So yeah, so it'll give you grievances for all these people are mentioned in as the grievant, but it doesn't include class action. So you would have to find a different way to get that. And okay, so for incident date, like for a lot of these dates, you'll see incident date and meeting date and signed by date, due date even. They all have the same format. Let's go with meeting date. You want everything within a specified range, right? Everything after January 1st, 2022, and before June 1st, 2023. Okay, so you want all the grievances within that specified range. Press search, and you get those grievances, and you can see is within that range. Let's do the summary. Summary will give you, from June 2023 to the beginning of January. The grievances here. Yeah. Beginning of January 2022. So that's it's handy because sometimes you don't want to bring up grievances that are too recent if you're looking for non-compliance, because you want to give the process time to work out. So you might only go, you want to go like 6 months back and then start from there, to a certain period of time. You've got stuff in here from 2017 that hasn't been resolved. So, okay, let's go back. Okay, so these dates are kind of all the same, and you can also you can just look at everything within the past year, right? Give you everything from the last year. And there we go. This still goes back to December 30th, 2022. Okay, go back. You can go back the last 3 years, last 2 years, what have you. Okay, the search by level. Okay, now this will give you a drop-down box, and you can search by how many grievances have been settled at Formal A. Search. Not many. All of my grievances usually get appealed. So for the past 5 years, about 100. Okay. So, but you could also select, selection. You can select 2. Search. That's much more. Go back. Okay. Now you can, the sign by date is the same format as the other dates, except it's the date that the grievance or the settlement was signed. You can search by the decision, and in this case you can add more than one. Okay, so everything that was, let's see here, bullshit. Let's see what we got there. And search, just one. Those are always interesting. Let's go back. Yeah, I kind of, if you go to like the new grievance, enter new grievances, and you go down to this criteria for settlements, the list includes, question mark, question mark, question mark, like what the hell is going on here, and bullshit, because, I know that's what, sometimes that's what the decision is, and you either know it's complete and utter bullshit, or it's just a complete mystery. So, Klusterbox feels your pain. Informal C feels your pain. So, okay, and searching by decision, search by proof due date. It's the same thing. Sometimes there's no proof due. Most of the time, there's no proof due date. So if it's not there, it's not going to show up in the search. It's only going to show up where there's a value there, where there's a date there. And I mean, you can combine these as well, right? So let's see here. If you search for Blake and discipline, did I add that grievance? No, I didn't. See, you have to highlight the name and then press add carriers. And then once it's in that field, you're good. And then search for discipline and add issue. Okay, and then search. Okay. So there are 3 discipline issues. I think this is me. I think that's my alias. Okay, let's go back. There's more. Whatever. Okay, so search by ducks. And get a selection. There we go. And if you want to search for everything that says yes, you can just put in all these yeses. Or if you're searching for no, you can just put in, all the no's. There's a no ignore, which I guess for some reason, if something doesn't come back or it's lost or something, you just put no, there's no documentation. You're not going to get any, and you don't care. Just put in no ignore. Sometimes it's moot, so no moot. And okay, and then you can GATS also. It's yes or no. And that searches for if there's a number there, and the GATS is like the GATS number, and there's either a GATS number there associated with the settlement or there's not. And search by, the default is meeting date, but it could be start incident date or sign by date. I don't know how that works. Let's just press search. Let's see. I guess what it does is it just puts the grievances where there's no settlement at the very end, right? So that, okay. Go back. Okay, so I guess it's gonna, if there's no value there, it's just gonna put those at the end. And like I mentioned earlier, you can toggle to make the earliest, the earliest grievances at the top of the list as opposed to the bottom of the list. And that about sums up the search criteria. On to the next thing. Okay, next up, let's take a look at the search criteria tool. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is the search results. And okay, so when you press search, you're going to get a page or multiple pages of search results depending on the criteria of that search. In this case, I just selected all, so I got all the results. Now this won't give you all the results, it'll just give you all the results for the station that you're in. So that's it. There's no way to give you all of the grievances if you have different grievances entered in as different stations. Okay, so the first button we're going to look at is Edit, and this will allow you to edit. This I kind of went over this with the new grievances section, so it's the same here. You can update or edit any of these grievances. Now, I'll just to give you some information on these. Hold on this section here, which is batch settlements and associations and GATS reports. Okay. Now, what that is say you have a settlement, and the settlement is for grievance A, but it also says this is also a settlement for grievance B, C, and D, right? And that's what you would put in here. You'd put in grievance, B, C, and D right there. Now I don't have any grievance numbers, but yeah, if you put them in there, it'll be a batch association for that. the GATS reports are like sometimes you'll get a proof of compliance, which is a GATS report, and it'll have a GATS number on there, and that's what you enter in. It's usually an 8-digit number or something. But there are cases where, they give you a GATS report, but it's not complete, so they have to do a second one, and then there'll be a second number that you record in there. And I kind of put this all in I save all my grievances and settlements digitally, but you kind of put them all in the same folder, and it's all there in one piece. And so this will just tell you that there's multiple GATS reports associated with that grievance. And if it's the case where they give you one GATS reports for 2 settlements, then you would just enter in the GATS number in each of these records. You would enter it in twice. Okay, let's go back. Next number is reports. Now, for a lot of these reports, they're written in Notepad. I'm using Notepad++, and I guess the way you kind of do that is you would just kind of go to apps and default apps and type in .txt, and it just tells you that the default is Notepad++. Now, typically on most computers, it's going to be just Notepad, and you would have to go an extra step to download Notepad++. But I just use Notepad++, but the Notepad is fine. That's what it's designed to be run on. Also, another note on these reports is you have to have them in monotype, right? So, say you're in Notepad here. Here's a report already there. And you change the font to something like something common, Perpetua. There's Notepad. Yeah, and there see that it's not really that readable. It's a nice font, but it's not readable. And the reason for that is because you need a monotype font. So typically anything with mono in the name, or Courier. Courier is kind of an old standby. And, there we go. Go back. So yeah, see that the spacing is correct on that. But if you use something like that font, the spacing is going to be off, right? And the reason is because every space has to have its own a fixed amount of space for every character. An I and a W get the same amount of space in a monotype font, and that's not the case with most fonts. So just make sure your font is something that says mono in it. Monotype. Oh, that actually didn't work out. Let's see here. Font. Mono is kind of my go-to. So I can't do anything with the program to set the font on your computer. So otherwise I would, but I can't. So you just have to make sure that's done by yourself. Okay. And okay, so this report is going to have just a report for just that one grievance. Okay. Let's look at some other types of, if we go back here, report. Okay, again, this is a monetary award, but it's just got one award. It's 8 hours at 50 clicks for Curry. But there is a signing date, which I guess that's it's moot. Maybe he or she left. So for some reason I noted it as moot. It's usually when carriers leave and they're no longer on the rolls. Okay. Okay, let's go to enter awards for this carrier. And okay, so the notation here is, if it has a slash in it, then it's an hour rate award. Say I did something like for Cook, added a carrier, and then I just added in a number, 58.36, right? Applied. Okay, and then we went back. The port. So this one's going to show in dollars. It's going to show an hour rate. And the difference is this one doesn't have a slash in it or something like that. So it's kind of easy to tell the difference between monetary in dollars and an hour rate awards. So let's go back. Enter the awards, and if you want to delete, you can just press delete. If you let's add an award, and you can add multiple people all at once. It's a lot easier. And then say this person's 1 hour at 200%, right? And this person is 5 hours and 50 clicks at 50% rate. So the rate is a percentage entered in as a decimal, right? And this is 5 hours and 50 clicks at the straight time rate. This is 5 hours and 50 clicks at time and a half. I go back, look at the report. And okay, so you'll see this person's getting, it's 1 hour at the 200% rate, that's 2 hours. This is 275, that's 5.5 hours at the 50% rate. 5.5 hours, that's 5.5 hours at the straight time rate, and 8 hours and 25 clicks, that's 5 hours, 5.5 hours at the overtime rate. And it gives you a total at the bottom, 18.50 hours. And you can see in the case where the award was in dollars, it's just, there's no breakdown beneath that. It's just $58, right? Nobody gives you $58 at the overtime rate. It's just, it is what it is. Okay. Now, okay, so that's enter awards. And for the GATS discrepancy, say you're going through the GATS report after you get it, and it says that this carrier, it just completely passes over, Austin, say, right? So you would say, okay, what did he get? You can enter in like everybody's, right? You can enter in, one, 1 times, it's actually, it would probably be better if I used a time symbol because it's a multiplier there, but I just used a slash. So, okay, you could enter in 0 hours at the 0 rate, right? Just to show that that person was shorted, right? And say this person got 2 hours and 50 clicks. 2 hours and 50 clicks at the overtime, at the straight time rate. Okay, so person got the full award. Alvarez got the full award. Austin got no award, and Bevlin's got about half of the award that they were supposed to get. You apply that. It kind of cleans up the notation here, but it's the same thing. You go back and you look at the report, and it will show that there's a GATS discrepancy. Okay, it's 5 hours and 75 clicks that should have been paid but weren't, right? And where Alvarez, it shows that Alvarez is actually good. Okay, he was paid the correct amount. And there's a discrepancy here for Austin, and there's a discrepancy of 3 total hours for Bevlin. So that's how you use the GATS discrepancy, and it will track of what carriers were shorted. And there's just keep this information here because there's another report which will pull up all the GATS discrepancies, like everything that you have throughout the entire database for the station. Okay, so the summary button, the go back button, that's kind of self-explanatory, that just goes back. The summary button kind of shows you, it doesn't matter what page you're on, it will just bring up a text document with every single grievance in the database for that station within the search criteria. And now I search for all, so I'm getting everything. And it shows the grievance number, the date, the meeting date, the grievance issue, and the remedy, or the decision, as it's called. You can, let's go back. You can change that and sort by, the start incident date, right? If that's your preference. So usually it's roughly the same, but it's just, so see up here it says start incident as opposed to meeting date. When you press the summary, it'll show you the start date. So it's helpful for if you just want to look at it a different way. Okay, so now we're getting into these reports. For the reports, it's important for you to have that text document set to a monotype, just for the formatting, because all of these except for this spreadsheet down here, where it shows you employee IDs, ID numbers, those are all going to be they're all going to be text documents, and they're all going to open up on Notepad. That is because it's fast. I mean, Notepad, it's a very small program. It's very easy to open up. And so it's almost instant. You press it and it opens up. Now this has a progress bar because it's going through a lot of information. But this is generating your grievance everything report. Sort of like your employee everything report, except it's a grievance everything report. Okay, and this will give you every single grievance that's within the search criteria. Okay, so you can scroll through that, and then let's see if you it'll include the awards, right? Okay, monetary awards. This will show you, it's got two categories, right? It's got the grievance number, the date signed. It's usually the meeting date. If there's a GATS number associated with it, here are some GATS numbers, right? And so the GATS, yeah, see this 42, this settlement has two GATS numbers associated with it. For some reason I got two instead of one. There's one down here that has like a bunch. I have to not that full amount, but it's like for 136 $691.10. So this is a pre-arbitration settlement. That's a big one. So I may want to go through there and make sure, and everything, to make sure there's no GATS discrepancies, because there probably are, with that many settlements. But yeah, this gives you the documentation, if there's any documentation. Usually when there's a GATS report, there's a number that it says yes, right? Where it says yes, but there's no GATS number. I wonder what's up with that. But anyway, and then it shows you the awards in hours and dollars. So with the hours, it'll go through award by award, and it'll do all that math. Like if somebody's getting 2 hours at the 50% rate, it counts as an hour, right? Or if somebody gets 2 hours at the straight time rate, then it counts as 2 hours. And if somebody's getting 2 hours at the time and a half rate, it counts as 3 hours. If somebody's getting 2 hours at the penalty overtime rate, that's 4 hours, right? So this number reflects that math, right? And then it takes the cumulative of the grievance of the settlement, and it'll give you a number in hours and cents. And for dollars, it's much more straightforward. It's just it's a cumulative of the awards in the settlement in the dollar amount. Usually it's one or the other, but Klusterbox will work. The Informal C will work if you have two different ones of the same type. And at the bottom, it'll give you a cumulative. So almost $400,000. And this is my actual database. It's just for one station. But I've been doing this for a while. The latest grievance in here is what this was settled in April of 2018. This one's from January 2018. And for the hours, let's see here, 20,210 and 9 clicks. So you kind of, it's kind of hard to get an exact dollar amount for that because everybody has different pay rates. I mean, that could be, that number includes payouts for CCAs, and it includes payouts for people who've topped out at the scale. So, okay, GATS discrepancies. Again, there's a lot of, all those grievances. It has to do all that math. And this will show you every single thing, right? Where's that grievance where we put some stuff in there? There we go. Yeah, so it shows for that where we put in the GATS discrepancies, it shows that 5 hours and 75 clicks. Towards the bottom, it'll show that, plus 10. So I kind of have to go through and do GATS discrepancies, and that requires, pairing the proof of payment with the settlement and making sure that those numbers match up. and making sure everybody's there and accounted for. And if not, then you can use that Get Discrepancies tool to track it, right? And then once that discrepancy gets resolved, and management produces, another proof of payment saying that was paid, then you can go ahead and clear it off. You can zero it out or delete it. Okay, this is only discrepancies. Okay. Okay, I don't know why it's not showing the why. No. Well, it's not showing the grievance. I'm not sure exactly. It's not showing the settlement. I'm not sure exactly why it's not showing that. It may have something to do with this. Only settlements of monetary remedy or back pay are displayed. Only settlements where Get Discrepancies are noted are displayed. Okay. So none are displayed, but for some reason I have the totals. So I'll probably have to take a look at that. See where that's coming from. I'll do that right now. All adjustments. Okay. So yeah, this is where the settlement is an adjustment. Okay. So this is showing all settlements within the search criteria where the decision requires an adjustment. And so like it's like, denied sick leave, improper annual leave, denied admin leave. They have to put in an adjustment and they didn't. Oh, right. They have to put in an adjustment for the settlement. And this tracks which ones, this tracks all of those, right? And it gives you a yes or no whether documentation was provided. Now this is just a list of where they're supposed to provide documentation, but they didn't. Okay. There are 8 grievances. I don't know why it's the counter starting at 0. That's something I have to fix. So I'll fix that for the upcoming versions. Yeah, you can just. This is a list of where management's violating their agreement. You kind of have to go through each one of these and get that documentation. And this one, I have to look. It's kind of late for that, but it's something I could pursue. Awards by carriers. Okay. This is something your carriers will be interested in. Is here's a list of every single person who gets an award and all the settlements that they're entitled to. Right. So this person was awarded over, since 2017, late 2017, $7,190.95. A cumulative of 507 hours and 5 clicks. Okay. So, yeah, and this kind of comes in handy, stuff like this, so they can compare that to their payroll records, right? They can see, are they getting the full amount that they're supposed to be getting? Okay. Yeah, if you printed that out, it would probably go for like 40, 100 pages or something. I don't know. Okay, this is awards by carrier, right? You just pick a certain carrier. Okay, this guy only has 1 award. But you can, pick different people. This guy has more than 1 award. So you can see these are all awards at the hour in the hour rate format. Let's try one more person. Oh, okay, just another wanted the hour rate format. Okay. So yeah, you can go by if you have a carrier that's curious, they're like, okay, what are all the awards I've gotten? You can, tell them that. Okay, these are the awards that have no settlement. Okay, this is kind of a big one. Let's actually narrow this down with the search criteria. So we'll back out, go to the meeting date within a specified range. Everything after January 1st, 2022, and everything before about 6 months ago, 1st, 2023. Search. Okay. Now we can go to report, and so now we're searching just within that specified range. It's about a range of a year and a half. And we kind of offset it about 6 months because sometimes grievances, it's kind of reasonable to expect grievances to be resolved after, 6 months. So we'll go to the settlement. And this is a list that my president is going to be getting, saying, I'll come to settlement for these, This one's, well over a year old. This one's discipline. It's well over a year old. What's up with that? Okay. So, keep in mind we're still within that year and a half. Okay, now this is compliance delinquency. Okay, now there's a default with compliance delinquency. If there's no proof due date, then it automatically it's automatically a month. I think like 30 days or something, or maybe 4 weeks, or I don't know. I forget what I put in there as a default, and maybe I should make some functionality so you can change the default, but I haven't done that yet. Now we are gonna, so this, enter the date the report is generated from, and that's typically the day on you're generating it, but it could be a different date. You can enter in any date there. So this will tell you how delinquent that grievance is. If there's no proof due date, like I said, it's usually a month after signing is the default proof due date. So yeah, you have a lot of these grievances, which are, this one's over, these ones are over a year delinquent. This one's almost a year delinquent. And this is where you have to ask management, where's proof of payment on these? Maybe an information requesting proof of payment for these, or a non-compliance grievance, because there's no proof of payment on these. Okay, and missing awards. No, there's no missing awards. Now, missing awards is, say you have a grievance with a monetary remedy, and you pull up the screen, and it would be blank. And okay, you have the settlements for a monetary remedy, but you didn't enter in any awards. So that's just something that you can look at to make sure that everything with a monetary remedy or back pay associated with it has awards entered into the Informal C system. Okay. And I'm not going to press these because these are actual, I changed everybody's names, but I didn't change everybody's employee ID number. So we'll just keep that the same. We'll just, you know what that is. That's just a list of employee ID numbers. Sometimes you need it on a spreadsheet so that you can give it to management or whoever needs it. Let's talk about these speed sheets. And in order to get the speed sheets, it's just the menu here. And for Mac users, there's going to be a because I've changed the pull-down menus for Mac users. So you're just going to have a button up here that says navigation. So you just press that. And one of these is generate new grievances and generate all grievances. The new grievances is just, it's a blank sheet that you just enter in new stuff. Okay. Usually when I use this, I just generate the all report, but you can do whatever you want. So let's generate all grievances. It takes about the same amount of time. Okay, and this will actually show you all the grievances. And I think it's not sorted in any particular order. It's sorted in how it appears in the database. So it's so earliest, first in, first out sort of thing. So you kind of have to scroll to the bottom to make a new grievance. Okay. Say, in a new grievance, it's going to be okay. Now this is kind of worth noting here. So since this is a database and it's searchable, you want to be careful about the carrier's name that you put in there. Okay, it has to be, identical, like a carrier's name it's the unique identifier in the database, right? So Alvarez T, there's only one Alvarez T, there's only one De La Cruz A, and if two people have the same name, surname, and last initial, they're going to be differentiated in some other way because everybody has to. The name is the unique identifier. If I had it to do again, I might make it the employee ID number. But when I developed Klusterbox, I wasn't even looking at employee ID numbers. So it's just kind of baked in that the name is the unique identifier. So you want to make sure that when you use Informal C, that you're using that exact name as correctly. Okay, so something that can help you with that is this grievance guide that's in this menu. So you can pull up that grievance guide, and this will give you a complete list of everybody who's in the database. These are all the fake names because I'm using fake names in this database. So say you could just take a name from random here, Parish J. Copy it. You can just use your copy paste technology. That's Control C and Control V. Paste. And then you enter in your grievance number. 21, 23, UPTW A. And this looks right. So we're just making up a grievance. Okay. Start incident is, say, 12, 15. You can actually shorten that, and then the spreadsheet program autocorrects it to a 4-digit date. 12, 17, 23. It's one of the things I like about working with a spreadsheet. And then the meeting is today. And okay, now it's the same thing with the name and the issue. Okay, if you just type in the issue, you might get a character wrong, and then you'll have non-compliance and non-compliance. You'll have two records and one has a typo in it, right? So it's always better to use this speed sheet, again from the pull-down menu, use the speed sheet guide, and then you can copy paste it. So this is an issue. So say this is uniform violation. Okay, you can copy paste uniform violation, Article 26, or you can use this index number, 31, right? So just remember 31. Enter 31 in there, and what that's going to do is it's going when the Klusterbox Informal C reads the speed sheet, it's going to say, oh, 31, that means uniform violation. Okay. So again, we have to save it. So save this, and let's go to here, and then we'll enter it in. That is input into database. All grievances. Okay, it's checking all of those grievances, and it's adding that. Remember, that's the grievance number we added, and it's inputting the name, it's inputting the start date, the end date, the meeting date, the issue, and see it recognized it as uniform allowance, Article 26, right? And here it gives you the breakdown, some change made for the grievance sheet. And let's close that out. Let's close out this sheet. Let's close that and then generate it. Just to show you. Speedsheets. Okay, generate new grievance. Oh, that's the wrong one. I generated the new. Let's generate all. Just hit the space bar to press enter. And then, like I said, first in, first out. So you have to scroll to the bottom. And there's your grievance. There's the record for your grievance parish, the grievance number, start and end date, meeting date, and uniform allowance, even though you didn't, that's not what you typed in. Okay. Now to do the settlements, if you say you get a settlement for that grievance, and it's the first day, you make a settlement at Informal A or Formal A. Copy. So you get that grievance number, and then you can make a new record for settlement. And again, you have to scroll to the bottom. I guess you can actually put it any place. You can make a new record and put it on the top if you want. But okay, so you'd enter in the grievance number on the settlement tab, and then you'd enter in when it was resolved at Informal A, and you'd put in the date signed, say it was resolved on the same day as the initial meeting, and you could just put in favorable. Or you could put in adjustment, something like that, just so that way you could track whether you're getting the appropriate paperwork. And say we need the proof due by January 7th, 2024. Okay. And documentation is going to be no. And save it. And then you could either close it, but don't close it right in, because if you make a mistake, it's handy to just be able to go in there and correct it. Okay. So yeah, so this is making changes. It notices that there are changes to the settlement sheet, and it shows, grievance number, Informal A, start date, proof due date, decision date, And no documentation. So yeah, it gives you a summary down here. Okay, so that's your, let's close it out. So this way, we can close that out now. So you can go to your grievance tracker, search all. It should be at the very top. In the database. Back and report. It'll show a uniform allowance grievance. I don't know why there's a range of dates, but that's just how I decided to do it. But typically, for a uniform allowance date, it's an ongoing grievance, right? So I guess you could, that's something you could correct. Edit. So change the date to the 21st and delete this date and apply. There you go. So you fix that. And then, once you get the documentation, you can change the docs to yes. Apply. It's not going to show up as a violation or a lack of documentation or lack of compliance. Okay. Now, for Speedsheets, you can use them as a data entry tool. Oh, let's cover one more thing with the Speedsheets. Actually, it's not available on the search results page. You have to go back to the search criteria or the main menu. But if you enter, let's see here, generate all grievances, spacebar there. There's a scroll down. So here's the new grievance that you just entered for the uniform allowance. Say you want to delete it. Okay, there's this action column here. Now in the action column, you just put delete. I think you could put del in there too. That would work. But delete. Spelled delete. There we go. And then save it. Okay, and then you would input into database. That shows that the settlement and the grievance has been deleted. So if you delete the grievance, it all disappears, right? Because you can't have a settlement without a grievance. If you delete the settlement, you'll just delete the settlement. The grievance will still stay there. I think any batch associations and any GATS numbers will disappear too because you can't have a settlement. You can't have GATS reports and batch associations attached to no settlement. So, but if you delete the grievance, everything disappears. Everything associated with that grievance. It'll show one change made here, one change made there. Okay. Okay, so that's kind of how you use Speedsheets to add, delete, edit information in the database. But one of the main things I used it for was to migrate my data from my old legacy system to Informal C. Because, I had a bunch of data just in a spreadsheet, and that's how a lot of people manage their grievances, just with a spreadsheet, which is perfectly fine if you don't have a lot of grievances, But when it starts, when you want this extra level that Informal C can give you, then you're going to want to look at taking all that information on your spreadsheet and moving it into Informal C. And you can do that just by, opening up, all grievances or new grievances, and say this was all blank. And then you could just go through your spreadsheet that you have, and then, you can kind of start filling in these, copying and pasting these, this information here, right? You might not have, article or whatever, but that's fine. Or you may not even have starting an incident date or even the meeting date. But usually you have, the grievance number, the grievance number, some date, something about the issue, something about the grievant. So you just kind of put that information into the, into this, and then for the ones where you have settlements, you kind of do the same on the settlement page. Just enter in whatever information you have. Informal C, all you need for a grievance is just the grievance number. Okay, so that's all you need to create a record, right? The other information you can add in later or add it as you get it. It's good to have, but it's not going to fail because you don't have it. It's just kind of going to mess with your search results when you try to search by that missing criteria. Okay, and another thing is, like I said, all these, the names and the issues, the names, the decisions, and actually the level, and let's see here, something else. I think documents. Yeah. The documents. These all have to be within a certain. They all have to be phrased a certain way, especially docs and level. You know, those will there will be an error if you don't enter that in correctly, right? Because there's only so many values that it'll accept, and those are noted on that speed sheet guide, right? So these are the allowed values for level. These are the allowed values for docs. If there's something other than that, it's going to say it's an error. But also to speed up time, like you can kind of go through and find like all your Article 8 grievances and associate them with, whatever it is. Is it an improper mandate grievance? Is it a 12 and 60-hour violation, an OTDL equitability issue? And you can find what it is, and then just use the index number. You can sort of find and replace, and kind of go through and change this to 4, so that you can change these to 4, and that way it'll you know it kind of automatically fills in the violation, the issue, and it adds the article to it as well. It does that automatically. So let's actually save it and close this out and run it to database. Okay, so you see it updated. These were already 12 and 60-hour violations, but since I added in the number, X number 4, it updates. It changed it, anyway. So yeah, that's gonna. Those are some tips for your data migration. Because you have to. If you want to use, if you've been using the same system for 10 years, you might have a lot of information that you want to migrate over into Informal C and start using it. And, but I know it can be, because, I had to do the same thing, right? I had a spreadsheet that had all my information on, and then I had to move this over into Informal C. It took a few hours, but I was able to do it. But that's it for Speedsheets and data migration. Okay, I want to talk about the file management system, and this isn't part of Informal C or Klusterbox. Uh, I'm not exactly sure what other people are going to need, so people are going to have to give me feedback on if they need something about a file management system here, because what I use is very straightforward and simple. I just scan in all of my files. Hold on a second. I use this. Let's open this up. Okay. Ooh. There we go. So, okay, I use this. It's an Epson ES400. It's a scanner. And just use that. And that scans it, and it holds about 75 pages in here. And it'll scan that in a minute or so. Okay, so all my files are digitized, right? So when I get a settlement, when I file a grievance, I scan that in, and when I get a settlement, I scan that in. When I get proof of compliance, I scan that in. I scan in the whole packet, everything, and so it's all easy to find. And I have this folder in Explorer called it's actually in my OneDrive called Grievance File. And if you go to Grievance File, there's a file called University Park, and then from there you can find all the grievances are there. And I've got a certain naming convention where, okay, there's like I've got a grievance, and then I've got, let's see, this is first when it's underscore set, that's the settlement. When it's underscore proof, that's like a GATS report or a proof of compliance. So sometimes I've got the grievance and the settlement. Sometimes if I settled it at the informal meeting, at the informal A meeting, I just have a settlement. I don't have an actual grievance. Sometimes I don't even have an 8190. I just write out the settlement. So that's what that will be. And it's really handy because, like if you go to your grievance tracker and you bring up your summary, all you have to do is highlight that, copy that grievance number to this. You go to grievance file and just type that in, and that'll bring up the grievance. And then you just press enter, and then that grievance will pop up. If it's something that has a settlement, let's see here. It says settlement. So copy this, and there you go. And so it'll bring up the settlement and the original grievance. So that's how I do it. Now, other people, I think other people have different systems, and people are going to have to give me feedback on what they need to help manage those systems. I think in my branch they have some sort of system where like every grievance has a number that's associated with it. So they have a spreadsheet that has the grievance number, and then they have a number, which is a different number, and so they'll search. They'll go into a filing cabinet or filing cabinets, and then they'll find that grievance number. So that's how they do it. I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's how they do it. I always sorted them by, each year has its own section, and the grievance number includes sort of a date, right? So I sorted them by date of the original issue, but other people are going to have different systems. So let me know what your system is, and if you need something from Informal C, I can always add, some fields, and just make another searchable criteria or something like that. So that way you can quickly access your grievances and find them. So that might be something that's useful for you. But for me, for my purposes, this works fine. So I'm not going to add functionality that I don't need to add because it might clutter it up, and I don't know what other people need. Just let me know if you have any special needs in that regard. Okay, now for these special issue types, there's only one special issue type, which is, where is it? Non-compliance. Okay, non-compliance is the only special issue type. And so the issue is search, and you can see a lot of non-compliance grievances. But so the reason it's a special issue type is because it requires you to fill out some more information in the when you're editing the grievance, right? So okay, so your non-compliance associations will, when you file a non-compliance grievance, it's for a grievance or more than one grievance, and you're going to fill those into this field here, which is non-compliance associations right there. Okay. So once you do that, let's see here. Let's go back, and let's go to reports and grievance everything report. So since we searched for just non-compliance grievances, all of these are going to have a section down here. This is a non-compliance grievance for, right? And the opposite way, that it'll, like, say if we take this grievance here, copy it. So this grievance is a non-compliance grievance for this settlement. Okay. And let's go back. Let's close this out. Let's go back and search. What is that? See the summary here. Let's go back, search for that grievance, and then say, okay, this settlement is the subject of a non-compliance grievance, and it's going to give that original grievance. Okay, it's a non-compliance grievance for this grievance, and it's going to show that there's no decision yet. The settlement is pending. Okay. So you got 77 hours online there, so it's you want to know that there's a non-compliance grievance in the works. And that'll work if there's more than one. So issue compliance, add issue, search. Okay. Report, grievance everything. Okay. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And then that way you'll be able to stay on top. And I'm going to add some functionality where, if there's a non-compliance grievance and then it kind of eliminates it from the list of of grievances where there's no what should I say there's no compliance, right? Because you're already addressing it. You don't need to keep it on the list because you're already dealing with it in the form of a non-compliance grievance, and then it just becomes an unsettled issue. Another grievance for which there's no settlement yet. But then once you get a settlement, then you'll be able to see, okay, I've got, then it becomes a delinquency issue. Okay, where's the proof of compliance? It's still delinquent. So, okay, that's it for the special issue types. Okay, now I want to mention special decision types. Okay, there are certain decision types that require special attention. Decision types. Let's look at our decisions, and it's a Speedsheet guide, and it will show you all of the all the decisions. Okay, it's possible to enter in custom decisions, but that's not what we're going to do right now. Okay, so these two, monetary remedy and back pay. So those two, monetary remedy and back pay, those two kind of have a special significance in that they require monetary awards, right? So if you have, let's look at all of our back pay and monetary remedy. So add those decisions and then search. So we've got about 6 screens of that information. Let's just bring up the grievance everything report for all of those grievances. And you'll see all of these grievances have awards in them, settlement awards. So if you just scroll through, you'll see that every grievance which is a monetary remedy or a back pay will have awards added to it. So it's important if you get a monetary award or back pay to enter it in as monetary award or back pay for the decision. So that way you'll still be able to enter in the awards, I believe, but it'll be much more searchable. And also there's a report here for missing awards, right? And that only the settlement is monetary remedy or back pay. And so that's going to help you keep your database clean and working properly. Also, another one, a special decision type is adjustments. So if we go and we search every decision for an adjustment, search, okay, we've got like 21 grievances that require an adjustment. And that's an adjustment is when management has to give you a piece of paper showing that they made a change to tax or arms or what usually it's they're changing, annual leave to sick leave or AWOL to LWOP or something like that. And that's the proof of documentation you're looking for. In order to keep track of that stuff, you have to list the decision as adjustment if the settlement requires an adjustment. Don't just make it. Don't just put favorable on there or some other adjustment. And again, there is a which shows for no adjustments, right? And that's going to show you, and that this only shows up where the settlement is, adjustment, requires an adjustment. And there's another report for all the adjustments, and that's only going to show up if adjustment is in that decision category. So just stay on top of that. And there's also another special decision type, which is remanded. Okay, now notice that when you, let's go back, search by decision, remanded. Okay, add decision search. Okay, so these are all the settlements which were remanded. Okay, and this is probably the least important of all of them, but when grievance is remanded, it allows you to enter in this information here. This grievance was remanded and refiled under the grievances of this, right? And so if you edit this, you won't see any of those grievances there under the remanded. So what happens is when your grievance is remanded, you fill out the settlement section, and just the date, the level, and the decision is remanded, and there's nothing else you need because it's remanded. Oh, wait a second, I just closed out the whole program. Let's open it up again. Okay. Let's keep it in there. Okay, so what happens there is you're going to file. What happened with that grievance was it needed to be, they said, okay, this is a class action grievance. We want you to file it as two separate grievances since there are two carriers that were denied sick leave. So with those two grievances, I search. Okay, so I filled out those, I created those grievances, and in the remanded associations, I put in that original grievance number that was remanded. Okay. That way, you can keep track of what grievances get remanded and what don't. Go back, report, and it'll show you that, okay, this settlement is the subject of it's also the subject of a non-compliance grievance, but this is a refiling of a remanded grievance. So it'll show you that. And then that way, if you want to keep track of what grievances get remanded and what don't, this gives you a tool for that. Okay, so let's go back. And the last part of the decisions is, I just want to mention that withdrawn and no violation, they're practically the same thing. I guess they're technically not the same thing. Something can be a violation and still be withdrawn. So, but I guess either way. But just to bring you, when you're searching for withdrawn, you may also want to search for no violation and just search both of them at the same time. So just to let you know about that. because obviously I've got both in mind. Yeah, maybe you don't agree that it's no violation. Maybe you're like, it's definitely a violation, but it was withdrawn anyway. So, so that's it for these special decision types. Okay, now about GATS associations. So if we scroll through our search criteria, the search by GATS is either yes or no, or include all. So let's search for yes, search. Okay, you go to grievance everything. Okay, now every one of these settlements should have, and they should all have a settlement. They should all have this line, the GATS report for the settlement. The GATS reports for the settlement are, and it should give a list of at least one. Some of them may have two, like right here, but they're all going to have at least one. And what that is when there's a settlement and you want management to provide proof of compliance, they can do that in the form of a GATS report, especially if it's a monetary remedy or if it's back pay. So let's see, go back and edit. So yeah, you'll see it down here, the GATS number, right? Oops. Okay. Let's make an arrow, GATS number. And if you want to add something, just press the add button, and you can put in as many as you need. So, right. And so it will, if you add some and then press apply, then nothing's going to happen unless you have a number in there. And if there's an error, then that'll pop up. But if it's a proper GATS number, it won't. Okay, so yeah, this is not the GATS number that when you file when you meet at Formal A, the management gives you a GATS number. This is not that GATS number. This is a GATS number for proof of compliance. There's nothing in this database which where you can put a GATS number for that you would get at Formal A. So if that's necessary, you can give me some feedback, and if people really need that information, it'd be easy to just add another field, and I could put that in there. But otherwise, if it's not necessary, then I'm not going to do it. But yeah, it's really all there is to it. It's just another part of the compliance, and then you would put that GATS report in with the grievance, the settlement, you put them in that folder, so that you'd have all that information together. And that's about it. Okay, and if that GATS report isn't complete, that's when you get into the discrepancies, which I talked about in a different place. But so. Okay. All right. That's about it. Okay, I want to give you a little bit of more information on the batch settlement situation. So I found a settlement here with this grievance number. So let's search it. And this one has a batch settlement in it. So we'll bring up that report, and you can see that, okay, that this is a settlement. This settlement is a batch settlement for the following. Okay, so what that means is this grievance, this grievance number, has a settlement, and that settlement is a settlement for these 4 other grievances. So it's a settlement that covers 5 grievances total. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like on the report. It's going to show you this line. Okay. And if you go to this grievance, let's copy that number down. Close this stuff up. Let's go back, search just for that one grievance. Search. Oh, there's an extra space in there. That's why the search failed. Okay, you can see even from here that there's that grievance number, the meeting date, and the settlement says in batch. Okay, and it shows that it's part of a batch settlement. When you click on report, it'll show shows the grievance information. It says there's no settlement entered for this grievance. That's actually a bug. It shouldn't say that. I should rephrase that, because the next line says this settlement, the settlement for this grievance is included in the batch settlement for 11/14/19 UPTWB. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back again. Enter in that grievance number search. Okay, so if we click on edit, we can see down here the batch settlement associations. It's got those 4 grievances down here. And there's also a GATS number provided. So, back. But on the other, on the other one, you don't have to enter in anything. Okay. Let's see. Edit. See, there's nothing for the one that's subject to the batch settlement. There's nothing down here. It's just one of the grievances has you put all the information into one, grievance record. So this won't even have the GATS report. It won't mention anything about those other settlements. It doesn't have any settlement at all in there. It's all part of a batch settlement. Summary, it just says that the settlement is included in this batch. And that about covers it for batch settlements. Let's see here, go back. Okay, that's about it for batch settlements. Okay, now I want to talk about custom issues and custom decisions. Let's see here. So you enter in a new grievance, and sometimes you hit this button for issues, right? And I know it's not very well organized, but regardless, you still can't find your issue on that list. So what do you do? Okay, you can't just try to figure out the best match, but sometimes that's not the ideal situation. And the same with decisions, right? You might look through those decisions and say, okay, none of these decisions actually match what the decision was. I know the decision can be, pages long, and you have to sum it up in a word or two, but sometimes you want a different decision. So to deal with that, let's go back, let's exit, quit Informal C altogether, go to Management. Again, on a Mac, there might be a navigation button up here. Next to Investigation Range, just press that. You're going to go down to Informal C Settings. Okay. Now, Informal C Settings, there are different things you can do here. You can change the amount of results per page. Now, 100 is, once you get up to 100, my computer's pretty fast. That loads pretty fast, but when you start getting up to like 200 and stuff, it takes longer to load. So 50 is a good number. But you can make it whatever number you want. I think there's a range. but I forget what that is. Okay, and this will give you your options, right? And I've got two custom options in here. Okay, so a letter demand and denied admin leave. Okay, those are two I had to add because I didn't have an issue for them already, right? So you can just add a new issue in here. You could say it's an article 1, and it is, okay, okay, now it's down there. So now when you go to Informal C, you want to create a new grievance, you can go to Issue, hit that List button, and new issues down here. You can add it, right? New issue, Article 1. But that's just for the sake of example. Let's not keep that in there. If you want to delete it, you just press delete, and it's gone. Okay. Now, if you make, like, say I deleted letter of demand, even though I have a grievance which there's a letter of demand, is for a letter of demand. That grievance will not disappear out of the database. It won't be deleted out of the database. All that's going to be deleted is this listing in that, in the list of issues, right? So this would disappear. That's all that would happen. And in fact, you would still be able to search for it because the way the search works is it takes all the grievances, all the issues in the database, and creates a distinct list of those, and you can search by the issues that are in the database. So it would still be searchable, but it just wouldn't pop up on the list when you wanted to create a new grievance or edit a grievance. Okay, and so new custom decision. Okay, so say you want to make a new decision, and that new decision is holy moly. I wonder if I can add an exclamation mark. And I guess I can. Okay. All right, let's go back. Go to Informal C, grievance tracker. Oh, actually, let's go back and enter new grievance. And let's see if that exclamation mark is going to cause me any trouble. Oh, holy moly, it's right there. Add. Okay, so yeah, you can add it, and that way, if you want to, whatever decision you want to make, you want to put in there, because your decision is an abbreviation, paragraph, or pages of text. So you just want to quick 1 or 2 word summary of what that decision is. Okay, go back, and that about sums it up for custom decisions. Let's delete that. Okay, and there you go. And it also adds, because a lot of times if you're using Speedsheets, that index number comes in handy. So it'll just give you a new index number. So that's useful. Here's a decision list. Also has index numbers. And some options have been created since I deleted the one we created. Okay, that's it for custom decisions and custom issues. Okay, on a final note, I want to address payout entry and payout report. As I said in the introduction, these are not fully formed because I haven't used them. It's like that extra level of making sure the compliance happens. Now, We're talking about getting GATS reports and making sure that getting proof of compliance, getting the settlement, getting the GATS reports, and going through the GATS reports and making sure everything was paid. But I think we all know that that isn't proof that it's paid. The proof that it's paid shows up on a carrier's paycheck, right? And in order to know that, in order to verify that, you need either carrier's pay stubs or the payroll records, right? So that's really what this is starting to get at. And I've never gotten payroll records, so I think I could at some point file non-compliant an information request, and maybe even take labor board to get payroll records. But let's take a look at what I got so far. Okay. So what you would do is you would enter in the year, right, and enter in the station, and how many years going back, just say 1, apply. Okay, so you'd enter in a carrier, and then you would put in, so these are the payouts, what you can verify through payroll records and pay stubs that has been paid. So you would say, pay period 22, pay period 22 hours, or it's like an hours, rate, or amount. Now, hours and rate have to be put in together. So if they have like 5 hours and 50 clicks at the overtime rate, then you would press apply. Like say you had a second, for that same carrier, let's say 4 hours and 25 at the let's see, the 50% rate. Okay, and then you press apply. Now they're in the system. Okay, so you can go back to station and apply. You could see them if you put them in there. Okay, so now go back and then payout report. Let's see here. I guess you'd need a range of dates here. Maybe I should clean this up a little bit. What's that? And for dates. Date K01 station. Okay, report. Okay, so it just shows the payouts, and these are the two that I entered in. Okay, so for this carrier, it's showing them from this range of dates. These are the payouts, all the payouts that you got. So you could compare that and get a total for that, looking at everything the carriers owed versus everything the carrier got, right? And it just requires a lot of extra legwork, and this really isn't that perfected, but the idea is to eventually get payroll information and be able to verify that, because you can very easily look at every carrier and see every cent of the awards and every click of awards that they're supposed to get. And if you had that information and you had this information, you could juxtapose them, compare them to each other, and see if there are any deficiencies. So that's the direction that's going, although I really need the payroll reports before I could fully realize this vision here. So that's what payroll entry and payout reports do so far. Okay, I think this is going to sum it up. And if there's anything else that I can add, just leave it in the comments or contact me and let me know, and I'll be able to answer any questions you got. So I spent a lot of time on this, so I'd like people to use it, and I'd like people to get benefit out of it, and so more than just myself. So thanks for your time.